Hi, everyone. I'm feeling happy today. And you? I thought this would be a little cute toy that we could begin with. So, today we're going to talk about soft and hard skills, how to identify and communicate those skills, why it's important. Well, if you're going to a job interview or you're working on a career change and you're not sure what your skills are, in this video, we're going to talk about how to identify skills and, more importantly, how to stand out to recruiters. And even if you're pitching a business, how to get people to listen to you. Because in business, we connect with people. So companies are made out of people. So stick around. I'll distinguish between soft and hard skills, how to identify them, how to communicate them. So my hope is that by the end of this live hour session, you'd be able to understand exactly what your skills are and, more importantly, what to do with that information to get what you want. So we're going to get started. The reason I started doing this, specifically this episode, was because it took me a really long time to understand my skills. Jake is back. Hey, Jake. It took me a long time to understand really what is it that I'm good at. I had a lot of imposter syndrome, and I'm sure you've probably been there too. If you're someone who's talented and who has a lot going on and a lot of energy, or been that kid in the classroom that was super bored, like me, definitely an ADHD brain. And the teacher was always trying to tell you to be quiet, or if you were asking questions to the teacher and then the teacher didn't know how to answer them, like that is a skill in itself to be able to ask questions. And if the teachers couldn't answer them, it's not like you're smarter than them, but it's just you're thinking outside of the box. And a skill like big picture thinker or outside of the box thinking or creative thinking, those are actual skill sets. Now, how do you translate those skills into actionable use cases or action items on the resume where recruiters can understand what those competencies are? So, we're actually going to go over a couple of hacks today, tips and strategies to get better at communicating those skill sets. Now, there's different people that think, okay, well, how many skills should I communicate? Do I have enough skills? Because I don't know about you, but people are constantly learning new skills. They're constantly thinking, okay, how are these skills relevant? And even though there's this push to get hard skills like data analysis and software engineering and all of that, we shouldn't lose foresight of soft skills like communication and empathy. And I'm going to go actually talk about the difference between the two. So I'm going to go check who's here. Hola! Christy's on today. Okay. So the secret to standing out in any career is to effectively communicate your skills. Now, skills in the entrepreneurial world is called your value proposition. And if you're selling products, it's your unique selling point. So, what makes you different from everyone else? And now, value proposition is this like fancy term you learn in business school. And a lot of business people will probably say, like, what's the value? What is the value that you're communicating? And it's weird. It's like, do you say, like, what is the value? And are you asking, what are my hard skills and soft skills? It's actually all of it. So when you identify these skills and present them like a pro in interviews, resumes, or everyday conversation, you will actually sound confident. Now, some people may say, well, I don't have this skill, so I'm not going to apply. You actually do have this skill. You just don't know it. I mean, in my case, I had like 20 different skills because naturally I liked to learn. And I was doing, I'm very tactile. So I was working with my hands and I had all these skills. And then I thought it was just normal to have these skills until I learned that it wasn't, because um, to have 20 different skills that are marketable is unique, and more so to be able to communicate it is even more unique. So I always had this love-hate relationship when somebody asked me, "What are your skills?" or "Tell me about your skills." Well, there's a lot, and a lot of those skills are life skills that are no different than the skills that you are sharing in a job interview. The only difference is the way the terminology you use and the type of vocabulary, and the context is different. So we'll go over that too. Hola. So just to kind of give you um, a breakdown. So hard skills typically imply some sort of technical expertise. And that could be, in my case, hard skills. I'm going to just go over my CV real quick just to give you an example of hard competencies or skills. So for this one position I'm applying for, it's my skill set is grant program management. So it's so management or like project management or grant management is considered a hard skill. It's a tangible skill that has a scientific method because there is a practical approach to management. But management can also be a soft skill because a lot of management requires um, people skills, like soft skills, like communication skills, but also management is resource allocation, and that's a hard skill. So a lot of these interject. So hard skills are more of the practical, hands-on, the tangible skills like compliance monitoring or project management, data analysis, event planning, roadmap development, stakeholder engagement, financial literacy, technical writing, technical literacy, um, technical writing, those are hard skills. Soft skills seem very intrinsic or intangible. Those are something like creative thinking, relationship building, stakeholder engagement, which is another way of saying talking to different people, proactive collaboration. Now, do you know what the difference between collaboration and proactive collaboration is? Jake, you may know this one. What's the difference between proactive collaboration and collaboration? Because they're not the same. Give you a minute to kind of think about that one. Maybe Chrissy? Okay, I'll give you the answer. So, co- I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I actually thought about it recently and they're not the same. So, think of proactive and passive collaboration. So, if you're in a team and you're supposed to do a project together, the passive collaborator is somebody that gets told what to do and they don't really contribute other than what they have to, and they just wait for instructions. Proactive collaborator is the one that takes more of a leadership role. So in the engineering world, it might be the tech lead or somebody who's leading the engineering project or the execution of that project. um, Proactive is making think the others as well. Yeah, it's actually proactive is active thinking, active listening, questioning. So that when you ask a question, it drives the cognition. So absolutely, you're making the others think. It's being proactive. That's a great observation. Hi, Edward. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. How you doing? Smiley. Chrissy provided this say, by the way, for those of y'all don't know, Chrissy is my roomie and she's awesome and she helps me with resume, and so she's pretty cool. So if anybody needs help with resumes, reach out to Chrissy and I, and we'll be happy to write some stuff with y'all. And here is a smiley face. So this is cool. This is also Chrissy. She says, here it says, don't stress, ask it security on Chatter today. Apparently, this is from the United States. I like these little toys to remind us we should keep smiling. Just a bit sick. Oh, sorry, they're feeling sick. I'm so happy that you joined today. Thanks, Edward. Edward. No, it's thank you for joining. Absolutely, it takes a lot when you're sick to pay attention. So thank you for that. I'm going to continue here. So the going off of the resume, I'm actually reading my resume. So problem solving typically is considered a soft skill, but it can also be considered a hard skill. It just depends on the job requirement. For example, solving a problem, solving a communication like a misunderstanding, or problem solving gaps of reasoning, or problem solving um, a crisis in the team. Those are more soft skills because they require more psychology and communications. But where problem solving is a hard skill is we found a bug in the system and we had to troubleshoot and figure out how to solve the problem of how that bug got into the software in the first place. And that's an example of a problem solving a scenario in the technical world, or that demonstrates your hard skills. So adaptability is mainly a soft skill. Attention to detail could be both, because attention to detail could be reading the room, reading the nonverbal cues of how somebody's behaving, what are their gestures. That's an example of attention to detail for soft skills. And for hard skills, it would be, I was reading like the technical report and I found typos and issues with grammar. So that's paying attention to detail in the technical side of things, the hard side of things. So that's a hard skill. And then, so I went over the difference between hard and soft skills. Do you have any questions before I continue? Um, get well soon, Edward. Oh God, it's that season where everybody's sick. Proactive and passive collaboration. I've experienced this in projects, work in college. I've taken or been given the role of both in different scenarios. Yes, and they're quite different. So really depending what role you're applying, uh, if it's a technical role and they ask you giving an example of how you solved a problem, you're probably going to talk about the bug scenario in the software. But also, what I encourage people, here's a hack. I encourage everyone to balance hard with soft skills because, for example, one of my friends, she applied for a job and she's really good in languages. So she's able to demonstrate her hard skills of translation. So doing editing and translation is more of a hard skill. It's tactile, it's technical, and she did really well in the interview, but she failed the interview ultimately because when they asked her to demonstrate soft skills like teamwork, all the questions that asked her to give examples of teamwork, she was not able to demonstrate that she's an proactive and active and collaborative participant of team dynamics. So she ultimately didn't get the interview because though the role was technical in nature, she didn't articulate her soft skill capabilities. So you kind of see that both are important. And I'm doing a quick sound check. How's my mic, everyone? I have a mic. Just want to make sure that I sound all right before I continue. Awesome. Good, all good? Okay, awesome. So I got Christy, my technical assistant for this evening, hooking me up. Woo, woo. Takes a team. So let me go ahead and continue defining hard skills and giving you a little bit more examples. So hard skills, again, are teachable, measurable abilities you learn through education, training, or experience. Now remember, measurable, you can measure. And actually, Chrissy, my branding girl, we had a conversation about this. How do we measure brand impact or social impact? How do we measure brand communication, effective brand communication? And if you're working in retail, you can measure it through KPIs. You can measure it through your storefront, like what kind of items you displayed in the display window. and if that influenced sales, and of course it affects your bottom line, your KPIs. But how do you actually how do you measure the success of brands? And this is something that is a balance between your hard skills and your soft skills. And I'm going to actually go back to that scenario of brand communication in a minute. um, so examples again of hard skills is for coders and project managers. It's really easy. Technical skills like coding, project management, data analysis. So project management is your ability to sort of use the tools and adhere to deadlines, allocate resources, get together a team, inspire the team. So those are, yes, in this scenario, we're talking about hard skills. Um, in project management courses, you have a lot of those technical skills, specifically like budget, the different software tool, project management tools, let's say Trello. The hard skills could be industry specific, like financial modeling or CAD. A lot of engineers use CAD, or even grant writing. Grant writing is technical writing. And proficiency of hard skills typically refers to technology and software capabilities like Salesforce, Excel, and Photoshop. And if we go into defining soft skills are your interpersonal and behavioral traits. And I mentioned that before. Interpersonal typically refers to communication and behaviors and habits, and that defines how you work with others. So remember the scenario I talked about my friend where she was unable to communicate how she would work in a team, so she ultimately did not get the job because it requires her to work in a team environment. So really easy examples of soft skills are communication, teamwork, adaptability, leadership, and again problem solving, which Chrissy and I talk about this all the time, and we're big creative thinkers, so that's an easy one. And the communication is very broad, so feel free to be specific. Like I have training in active listening, which means repeating word for word what the person said, and that actually is what slows down your communication so you can actually take in more information, and it reduces your need for judgment and bias because you're just focusing on what that person said rather than focusing on how you're going to respond. I used to do that a lot, being impulsive, and I already had my answers ready and I had to respond. I had to respond. But in active listening, it's really about not how you're going to respond, but exactly repeating word for word what the person said. And it's important because you're their sounding board. So they want to check with you their communication. And effective communication, a large portion of it is active listening. So I'm going to take a pause here. Good morning, Stanley. You get a smiley face. Woo woo. I'm testing my roomie's little toy. Chrissy's on. My roommate, she's awesome. And she's my new branding girl. So we're talking a lot about how to communicate. And this is the whole point of today's live session, is to talk about skills and how to effectively communicate them. Loving this, Stanley. And for those of you that don't know Stanley, he has a channel called Stanley Orchard. Stanley, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. And he also has My Mobile YouTube, and this is a free cheerleading announcement. I'm a big fan of Stanley's. He's also the engagement manager at TubeBuddy. It's a software that reads all the analytics at YouTube, and he's an awesome mentor. So today he is our moderator. So everybody give a thumbs up for Stanley and his participation. Thank you. He didn't know I was going to say this, by the way. It's not rehearsed. But I love him dearly, and he's amazing. So without Stanley's support, I would want to give up on YouTube. Hi from California, Almond Country. Yes. almonds. Paul, you get a smiley face. I should put the smiley face eating some almonds. I just bought some almonds. Um, Paul says CAD isn't used as much as it used to be. True, although my brother, he works at Northrop Grumman, the defense contractor. They still use it, but he uses it for highly specialized design concepts. But yeah, you're right. It's not as much used. We engineers use design software to do the computer-aided drafting more and more all the time. Okay, I can see that for sure. Jake, I've been more intentional about active listening since I heard you talk about it on your channel. It's a powerful tool for building relationships. I actually am still lazy because I think it's if we don't practice these skills, we become lazy or we forget. It's a muscle. Now, I'm going to share a quick story here. I used to work for a billionaire family in Miami. Now, I learned a few life skills and business skills, but we're going to call them life skills. And one of them was active listening. And I actually had to stand in front of the family and their team and give them a pitch, like why they should invest time in me and why I should be the personal assistant. And I was also like the executive assistant to one of their companies. And I said, I'm great at communication, I'm presentable, I'm a team player, I'm collaborative, I'm entertaining, I'm responsible. And I said all these things where I legitimately thought I was pretty good at them. And after my pitch, and after about a few days of um, like interviewing process and conversations with the team, my boss, the billionaire, and his wife, they were actually both billionaires. They sat me down, and I was like really excited about to get the job and everything, and super excited, and living in downtown Miami. And basically, um, I'm waiting for him to give me feedback, and he said something. I cut him off. I said something else, and then he's like, "Can you repeat what skills you bring to the table?" And I said, communication. And I went through the list of like 10 skills. And he's like, all right, you don't know how to communicate because you don't know how to actively listen. You don't know how to listen because you don't know how to you don't know how to communicate. You definitely don't know how to dress. You don't know how to wash your face or put on, he went with like, uh, and you don't know how to be a team player because if you were a team player you would hear what your team members are saying, which requires active listening, which you don't have. And he went through all of these in a nice tone, in a very direct way. And my ego, you could imagine, I was like boiling, and I was like, uh-huh, right, and I was red, and I smiled because I got nervous, and I go, great. And I had to be quick on my feet. And I said, well, since I don't have these skills, I would love to learn from you. And I was 32 and naive, but I was like, I would love to learn the skills from you. And he goes, that's why I want to hire you, because you're humble. Like you checked your ego at the door, and that's why I got the position. So sometimes if you don't, the lesson here is like if you don't try to oversell yourself because the people who are billionaires see right through it. Don't bullshit. Just say, hey, I got maybe like 2 or 3 skills that you could communicate confidently. And just say, this is why I'm here to learn more. And a lot of billionaires, their time, think about it, may be worth like $50,000 a minute. If they're making a lot of money, their time is valuable. So just say, I want to learn. Like, this is what I bring to the table in one sentence, and this is what I need to improve and learn. So that's like, this is the high level communication. And I had to meditate to kind of slow myself down instead of like jumping into, like I wanted to jump in and I wanted to, and he trained me for about 4 months. And before I could even give my opinion or feedback, he said, repeat what I said, repeat what I said. And then and he would remind me every sentence. What did I just say? It's so annoying, like 50 times a day. What did I just say? I felt like I was a child, but I knew after about 2 weeks of this, think about it as like military training, it was effective. Like I was able to learn more, hear more. People were listening to me. People were actually responding better because I was actively listening. So this is something that I maybe do now only 20% instead of 90%. But this is one thing that's absolutely um, is amazing. So Christy said here, active listening is confirming what you understood. It is, but the actual mechanics of active listening is what I heard you say, that the actual mechanics of active listening is. It's a soft skill, but it's also highly technical. It's repeating word for word what the person had said. Not a summary, not a question. It's a statement. Like for example, Alice, I would like you to bring me a tea with a cookie. Great. What I heard you say, you would like me to bring you a tea with a cookie. Yes. Now, would you like a black tea or green tea? I would like a black tea. What I heard you say is you would like a black tea. Now, would you like sugar or no sugar? Sugar. Okay, what I heard you say is you would like me to bring you a black tea with sugar. That's the level of communication that had to be like 15 hours a day. Yep, but it was awesome. Stanley, you're too kind. Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate that. That's my Texas accent. I don't know if I did it right. Edward, because Stanley's in Texas. Edward, hi. Thanks, guys. We got 7 people. I just wanted to acknowledge each and every one of you, and you're always here every Monday, so I appreciate you. Paul, way to go, Stanley. My farm's almonds are better than the ones you bought, probably. These are from Spain, and I'm sure yours are amazing. Edward, that must have been hard feedback. Oh, yeah, it's ego. If anybody wants to get their ego crushed, yeah, work for a billionaire. I highly recommend it. You get the ego, the requirement is ego out the door. Because as far as I'm concerned, what do you bring to the table, my man and my lady? What do you I mean, being pretty and smiling and a master's is not good enough. I could tell you that. Looks don't get you that far with a billionaire. It helps, but that's not how you get hired. You got to have ninja skills, and active listening is a ninja skill. Edward, I don't know if you could let my ego, if I could let my ego at the door. It's rough. It was hard. It was hard. But I tell this story because that's what I remember. Check your ego. Damn, I had to learn that lesson so many times. Well, Stanley, if you had to learn that lesson so many times, that means that it's hard for you to leave your ego at the door. Thanks for sharing that story. You got it, Jake. And the cookie? The cookie. He got his cookie. He liked his cookie in the tea. So he was actually a really big baby, to be honest. But he moved. He made the mountains move, but he was like a big baby. So it was nice. I knew how to handle him. If he was acting out, it's kind of similar to my brother. When he's acting out or being a little annoying, I give him food and he's happy. So with the billionaire, when he started being a little, I'm just like, it sounds like it's time for your afternoon tea with cookie. And he'd be like, yeah, it sounds about right. I'm like, great. You get your cookie with tea early today. How about 20 minutes early for you? Yeah, I would actually like that. But instead of 1 cookie, 2 cookies. So what I heard you say is that you would like your tea with 2 cookies right now. And he's like, I didn't say right now, but you get the point. It was just, bless that person. You got humbled by the billionaire. He drove you crazy, but it was for your own benefit. You truly grew up from that experience. Sounds like boot camp. Yeah, boot camp, baby, boot camp. I usually need to confirm with my dyslexia. I need to do the confirmation because I understand things in a different way. No, Chrissy, you're really good at asking for the confirmation. So that's actually maybe the third step in active listening. Um, and the confirmation, you could say, what I like practice with me, even like what I heard you say is you need this, this, and that, and use those exact uh, words that I said. It takes practice. It because it slows down our communication for sure. Ninja skills, 100%. Ninja skills. So imagine going to an interview and just say, I got ninja skills. It's a combination of soft and hard skills on steroids brought to you by a billionaire for whom I worked. And it's like, it's weird if you talk like this in an interview. So everything is context specific and it really depends what the job is and um, who's your interviewer. So, how do you identify your skills? This is the next section of this live episode. Now, okay. So before ChatGPT, because now ChatGPT helps me identify or refine my skills. Because chat, for those of you that don't know, it's ChatGPT is trained on language models and it understands who you are as a person and it could give you feedback and analyze your skill set. So it's really easy to do today to recognize those skill sets. But before ChatGPT, the way that I learned what my skills were and how to identify them came from the term friends, family, and fools. So friends and family are those are your immediate social circle and they get to observe you. And fools are those people, your fans, or they're like family and they get to also buy into your story or observe you. So this is your immediate circle. And remember when you were a kid and maybe your parents or your siblings or your friends told you, you're really good at writing. You're really good at fixing things. Wow, you're great at being on time. Or maybe it was your teacher. So those are your skills. Now, as we get older, we get ideas on what type of skills we should have. We get ideas about what skills we should learn, but we forget to talk about the skills we already have. So Chrissy, I'm going to use her as an example. So we had this exercise. Chrissy's on the chat. She's my roommate here in Spain. And she is really good at organization and organization, everything. So technique, so her hard and soft skill is organization. In the hard context, she organizes the information on my resume using a software called Canva. She also organizes her diary or calendar or notes in a software. She also organizes it in her notebook. She organizes her thoughts before she speaks, so that's a soft skill. Don't mind the siren. She tangibly organizes things on her desk, in the kitchen, in the drawers. So she's organized. So if I'm doing an event, I can trust her that she is going to organize the resources, meaning the people, all the way from the people to what program we need to use, all the way to the detail of like what design font should go on the letterhead that is going to be placed on your dinner plate. Because on the little letterhead, there's going to be your name with a nice little icon because it's dyslexia friendly. And she'll know exactly what type of font to use that is dyslexia or neurodivergent mind friendly. So she's an organizer and she's a creative thinker, and that's soft skill. So organizer or organization is um, is what is a soft and hard skill. Now, I my hard and soft skill is time management. So, uh, her and I can work well in a on a project because I give her deliverables and I give her a deadline, and she'll be like, "Oh, that needs to get done." Um, so that's kind of like how that is an example of teamwork, is that when you're hiring, you have to think about what everybody is good at, and they don't have to be good at everything, but how do they work together? So when I managed Perry Ellis Woodbury Commons in New York, that store, I managed people from the age of 20 to 65. So those are totally different generations and skill sets. And um, I understood what everybody was good at, and I would pair people according to their skills, and they would have their shifts. So typically, if there was somebody who was detail oriented, I paired them with a big picture thinker or somebody who had a big bird's eye view of the situation. Because when you're too detail oriented, you get stuck in the details, and if you're like way up here with your big picture thinking, it's hard to translate it and make actionable items. So by combining detail orientation and detail attention to detail with big picture thinking, these two people executed well together. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that from an employer's point of view. How would you hire, like what skills you would hire, and how would you pair the skill competencies together? So I just wanted to highlight that. um, Hi, ID. Everybody, please like, share, and if you here, you should subscribe. Oh, thank you. I think everybody here is subscribed, but thanks, y'all. Um, Detail orientation. Yes, thanks, Adi. So let me continue. I'm going to take a pause here. Does anybody have questions? I know it's a lot of information and I tend to talk a lot or fast. I just want to check in how everybody's doing, and if everybody's okay with my communication. I gotta check in. Let me take a little minute. All right. Time flies when we're having fun. Awesome. All right, take a little pause here. So, back to how you identify skills. Okay. So, like I said, friends, family, and fools. The next typically is like your teachers, your colleagues, your neighbors. They'll tell you what you're good at, and society will tell you what you're good at. So listen. For example, people have been telling me for a long time, "You're really good at writing," but it didn't. I needed success to feel like I was good at writing. I needed, and to me, it was being a published author. Well, I didn't realize it takes about 10, 20 years to get good at writing. And yes, in high school, I won some competitions. I won spelling bees. Does everybody know what a spelling bee is? I don't know. My nose is itchy. Does it? I'm gonna pull back my hair. It's always itchy when I'm like talking. Sometimes, does your nose itch when you're talking? I don't know what's up with that. So I'm gonna pull back my hair because it's itchy. Um, okay, yeah, it's an American thing. So spelling bee is a competition. You go on stage, and the person, the teacher or the moderator says, "Okay, spell the word dyslexia." And then you're the kid, in third grade, and you stand on there and you go, Dyslexa. And they're like, "Yay." And then you get off stage, the next person, and then you have, let's say, 30, 40, 50 participants. And then whoever is left standing wins. So I used to actually win spelling bees. And do you like spelling in school? Yeah, I did like spelling, actually. Spelling is fun. And so then, over time, when friends, family, colleagues, teachers tell you what you're good at, like keep notes and inventory, and recognize that those are your skills. So you have a choice here. Either you perfect those skills and become a master of them, or continue gaining different skills and experimenting, because just because you're good at it doesn't mean you want that to be your competency. So for example, I was really good at writing, but I didn't always want to write until like now. I was really good at uh like certain like what was I good at? Like calendar management, but I don't even want to do that now. So there's a lot of skills that I have, but I'm not necessarily enjoying them. So the key thing with skills is not just what you have and what you're good at, but if you could actually work in that capacity and like do that. You're good at storytelling. Actually, thank you. You're the second person that said that today. Um, and storytelling, I give credit to my grandmother. God bless her, because she was always telling me World War II stories, which were very interesting, and stories from her life. So I think I just got naturally inquisitive. Um, so what? Let's go to the questions that employers would ask you uh, to basically that signals hard and soft skills. So, if an employer asks you, what technical tools or software have you mastered? That indicates that they want to know what your hard skills are. And you would reply with, well, I've mastered Trello and Airtable and Canva and Microsoft Office. What certifications or degrees do you hold? Okay, again, that is a hard skill because that's a technical degree. I have a master's in public administration from Carnegie Mellon. I have a scholarship, and that's a hard skill because you actually got a scholarship, which meant that you had to have a competency, and then you have a technical degree, which is the master's. Um, Now, another question: what processes or tasks have you learned to perform? That's another example of a hard skill that you can demonstrate, because processes or tasks are typically hard skills. So, processes, I created standard operating procedures to better allocate resources for my team, to better identify opportunities, to better streamline workflows. You see where I'm going with this? That's kind of how that would go. Um, she was amazing, did a great job. Thanks, Adi. I'll be back soon. Thank you. I know it's late in India for you. Chrissy, how can we understand better what skills we have? What questions do we ask our friends, family, and fools? Very simple. What do you think I'm good at? If you ask them what soft and hard skills do I have, they won't understand that. It's more in the American context. When you on resumes in America, we usually put soft or hard or technical and non-technical skills. But ask your friends, family, and fools, what technical skills do you think I have? Which are your hard skills? What non-technical skills do I have? Chrissy, you asked me what you're good at to me, and I said you're excellent at organization, big picture thinking. You're creative, you're a strategic thinker. So those are a mix of technical and non-technical skills. You're empathetic, you listen, you hear, you're a proactive collaborator, you're a team player. So those are just a couple of things that we could say here. So hard skills, again, technical skills. Let me take some notes. And soft skills are non-technical or intrinsic, or the ones that aren't tangible. Let's continue. So soft skills questions. How do you handle feedback or a conflict? Well, first I try to assess the situation. So first I ask questions before I respond. First I try to understand the conflict by asking questions. Then I take a few moments to understand the situation, reflect on it, and then I respond. How do you respond? Well, first I respond in the group setting or individually one on one. I respond over email or a phone call, like whichever way you do it. Just be specific. Do people turn to you for advice or leadership? Or how do people turn to you for advice or leadership? You can say, well, first they ask me if they can share something in confidence, which signals to me that this is off the record, meaning it's a private conversation. And then I verify, would you like this information? What would you like me to do with this information? Um, uh, that an example is demonstrating leadership because you're safeguarding the information. Every leader has access to information that they can use to serve ideally a group benefit, not for their own benefit, but for the benefit of the team. So, um, how do people turn for you advice? They ask. Uh, they ask me for advice. They ask to remain confidential. So these are just examples. Another soft skills questions. How have you successfully collaborated on group projects? Well, depending on the context, I'm able to play an active and passive role in the group environment. When we have projects, I try to understand individual competencies. If I'm the group leader, I ask what everybody's motivation is, what part of the project they would like to participate. I confirm that this is their role, and then I do an assessment. And then you kind of want to walk through how you approach group projects. Now, if I was a group participant, I would say I typically like to pair myself with people of different backgrounds and diverse opinions because I like to learn and I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So that shows a little bit of humility. And this is a good one, good question. Like, how do you handle conflicts? And you can say like, how do you handle conflicts? Well, with compassion. First, I try to hear what the person has said without judgment. I diffuse the problem by practicing active listening. I don't escalate the problem by reacting or getting defensive. So there's different ways that you can demonstrate these skills. And typically what they're trying to do is for you to come up, the employer or the interviewer wants for you to come up with scenarios that are real life so they can envision how you would fit part of the corporate or team culture. So it's really important to do that actually. So let me take a moment here. Daydream, hello, you're new here. Are you planning on cloning your respiratory system and handing it on the roof? I don't know what that means. Please clarify so I can best answer your question. Jake, safeguarding information. I love that wording. Paul, Stanley, are you actively watching this chat during the entire presentation? If so, what are you looking for? Good question, Paul. That's a Stanley question. Okay, we have about 10 minutes. So I'm going to finish up here if you're all okay with that. So how to communicate your skills? Well, one of the easiest ways on your resume. And like I've mentioned, you highlight your soft and hard skills in bullet points. In interviews, you verbally communicate. So when the employer sees your resume, they want to confirm what they have read. So repeat what's in your resume. Like you don't have to do word for word, but again, this is your opportunity to give a narration or explanations or details that you were unable to fit or include in your resume. So think of the interview as an extension of the resume. One of the tricks I use is the STAR method to showcase your skills. Does anybody know what the STAR method is? Does anybody know what the STAR method is? Don't look it up on ChatGPT. Edward, what questions do you think we should ask in an interview? I'm going to get to that in a minute. Definitely. Thanks, Paul. Natural diffuser. I think it's my experience being in a war zone. Paul Jensen. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a definition of the STAR method. I'm keeping an eye out of anything that violates terms of, what's TOS? Terms of, I don't know what TOS is, Stanley. Would be held against Alice or is generally something that may offend her. STAR method, I'll give you, okay, I'll let you guys know. So the STAR method is situation, task, action, result. So for example, when I'm leading a project, situation, I created the timeline, the task, used project management software, the action, and delivered ahead of schedule, the result. So let me actually put this in chat because I'm sure Chrissy's going to ask me about it, or terms of service. And all of you going to ask me. You might ask me, can I do that? No? Why can't I put it in my, it sounds like I can't. Oh, it's too long. I'm sorry. Let me see. STAR method. Let me see if I can get a shorter. I want to put this in the, okay, I'm almost done. Almost done. I created a timeline used project. Okay, I'm going to shorten the word project management to PM. And now I can send this. Okay, that's great. So, and on LinkedIn, so we said on resumes, you can showcase your skills with bullets. In interviews, you can highlight a situation and narrate it, or communicate an illustration of your skill. Like when leading a project situation, I created a timeline task, used project management software action, and delivered ahead of schedule the result. On LinkedIn, include skills in your headline and about section. So when people come to your LinkedIn, there's that header, and you could say project manager, skilled and agile team leadership and data analysis. So that one line header or the title below your profile picture is an opportunity for you to demonstrate your skills. And in networking conversations, be concise and confident. I specialize in managing diverse teams, optimizing workflows, and using data-driven strategies to achieve goals. Of course, that's a little bit more formal, and there's a lot of technical terminology. But what you can say is that I work with teams around the world, and by having a diverse team, I'm able to creatively come up with solutions for any technical glitches in the software, or come up with creative messaging for brand deployment. Woo, woo, Chrissy, this is for you. Creative messaging for brand deployment. I have some branding experience, but the expert is Chrissy. Tips for balancing. I want to give you a few tips just to close here. But before I do that, I want to answer Edward's question. Let me get to it. Where is it? What questions do you think we should ask in an interview? Very simple. So when you're, whatever position you're applying for, you could say, based on the skills that I have demonstrated in my resume and during this interview, which ones do you see best fit for this job role? Because I think that's important, because then it's because the employer or the interviewer is looking for certain skills that are dominant over others. Like they have to have their criterias met. So you want to know absolutely which skill is important, because when you find out, let's say, oh, we need more of active listeners, you could say, oh, great, I could totally see myself working in your team. And you have another opportunity to showcase your skills. So if they say active listening, you could say, actually, I could see, and in what setting or what context do you need the active listening? Well, we work with multiple stakeholders during our Zoom calls, and sometimes the information gets missed. So you could say, well, I'm going to use an AI tool, of course, if that's if with permission, that we can transcribe the interview. But I'm actually trained in assisting multiple stakeholders, so I can practice. I can actively listen up to 3 people at a time, or 2, or whatever. Because I mean, I had 2 bosses, and I had to actively listen for both, and I that was hard for me. I think I'm confident enough to say I could do it with one person well, because when you introduce two, three people, it gets a little tricky, which is why it's good to have an AI tool. Now, if they say, "Oh, what's that?" Or which tool, then you can demonstrate your technical skills and say, "I use these softwares and I'm happy to implement it into your system." And it, again, you're trying to get as much information and demonstrate how you can fit in that role, because they're looking for competencies. So I think, I hope that answered your question, Edward. Is that good? I think these, because you might not have enough time to ask a lot of questions, but these are the two, because you want to get their opinion during that interview. So, um, never thought about that. You're amazing, Alice. No, I just have failed a lot. I have messed up a lot of job interviews, and it's rough. Sometimes, like, you're talking and then the interview is like, it's never a good sign. Paul, I thank you for watching this on TV. You cannot comment here and you can't even read these comments, but you can give a thumbs up to like it. Thank you. All right, guys, I'm coming to an end here. Tips for balancing hard and soft skills. So some of us may be leaning, okay, most of us lean more in one direction than the other. Some of us have advanced soft skills, some of us have advanced technical skills, because we kind of, our skills are based on like what we have fun with, what we're good at, what's naturally easy, or what's curious. For me, I'm pretty balanced, and eventually you end up being balanced if you're aware of your skills, and then you could say, "Oh, okay, this is how I can bring balance." But for me, I spend a lot of time working for myself, so I'm on the computer a lot, and naturally, I learn just by looking at YouTube videos and my education as well, and helping other entrepreneurs. So I have to end up like studying, so that's a lot of technical skills. And because I'm talking a lot and teaching communication skills, I have to always study my communication skills. So it's a balance, and I think that that's what they're looking for in an interview, is having some adding somebody with ninja skills to the team. But then sometimes you may be overqualified. That has happened to me too. So you just have to see really what they're looking for, and do ask a lot of questions during the interview. You want to ask. You definitely want to ask questions. So how you balance the hard and soft skills is, if you're applying for a financial role, you could say, I prepared financial reports and I communicated the results or the findings of the report clearly to the non-financial stakeholders, and also during our board meeting, I took a lead on communicating the results of the analysis. So this way, it shows that you can communicate to people who understand finance and who don't. So obviously, you have to be able to analyze the financial report, but then you have to present, which is cool. That's the way that you can balance the soft and hard skills. Another one could be tailored. This is important. Make sure that it's tailored to your audience. So for a tech job, you could highlight coding, the hard skill, and how you problem solved the issue to the client, because the client needs to understand it. And that's your soft skill. For a leadership role, you could emphasize team management, which is soft skills, how you manage people, and proficiency in leadership tools. So, like, for example, inspiring people to go on Airtable to manage resources, for example. And one of them could be Airtable. We use them for organizational charts, for storing documents, and it's where all of the leadership it's where all the materials for the leadership team was located. So that's like a hard skill, like organizing all the documents for you to then pull up that information and highlight specific terminology or specific points in those reports that you then communicated to the leadership team. So you see how that is more of a balance between the hard and soft skills. So that's it, y'all. The biggest takeaway is that You need both hard skills and soft skills to grow your career and to grow as a person. But the magic happens when you learn to communicate them effectively in a way that anybody can understand. So I want to leave you with that. I hope you found this webinar useful. And I'm going to take one more question or comment before we head out for the evening. Yes, this is great because we have a better chance not to fail. Yes, Edward. And thank you very much for all of this information. Absolutely. Any other questions and comments? And I'm going to leave you with this. Write down your 3 hard skills and your 3 soft skills. Send me an email to getbymakeitwithalice@gmail.com. And if you would like my feedback, I'd be happy to help you with that. The billionaire was at the time, this was 4 years ago, he was 54. But he actually became a multimillionaire in his late 20s. So billionaire in his 40s, then he lost some money, and then he made it back to billionaire status in his 50s. He's actually a tech inventor, a technologist, a software inventor. So that's that. Adi, tell us about what skill is needed to impress a girl and to know if she's perfect to marry. That may be another live session for that one. That may be an interpersonal and or relationship webinar. Self-made, yes. Self-made, woo woo. Chrissy, thank you so much. Yes, thank you guys. I really and girls, I really, really appreciate all of you joining me here every Monday. It means a lot to me. You're the reason why I continue to do this work. Thank you so much. Spread the love, share these webinars and the channel with your friends. Give me your suggestions on how I should improve or what topics to talk about. I read each and every one of those suggestions. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for the comments, even though if they're personal. Stanley, what a next level offer. Kudos for having the faith to drop your email. Yes, and thank you all for joining today. Big kisses and hugs. And let me know what I should name the smiley face. I'm thinking it should be Harry for male, and for female, it should be Francisca. But maybe we should have a gender neutral name. So Peter, Peter Pan, Pietro, or Pedro, I think is Peter. Maybe we're gonna have a gender neutral name like Yellow. But I'm gonna have Chrissy come up with a name, or we'll do a raffle. Mother Mary, yeah, that's a nice one. Jesus. Anyway, I'm starting to lose my mind. Okay, thanks y'all, and have a blessed day. Thank you, everyone. Until next week. See you soon.